Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and in this video, I'm going to review Season 1, Episode 10 of Bates Motel, Midnight. I did not review last week's episode because I forgot to record it, so I watched it before this episode, and it was just kind of mediocre episode, nothing special, nothing amazing, but I did really love this episode. I'm just going to say that this was the best episode of the season. I thought everyone really gave great performances here. And I just thought everyone did a really great job. One of them even really surprised me, and that was Abernathy. The guy who plays Abernathy, you guys know I do not like Abernathy. I do not like the character of Abernathy, and the reason I don't like him is because he's annoying. Honestly. First he was boring, now he's annoying. And he just got more annoying, but I did feel like even though he was annoying, he did a great job in this last episode. Like, he did a great job seeming evil. And as we know, in the last episode, well, I didn't review it, but in the last episode, he held Norma hostage, and he said that he needs $150 and threatens to kill her unless she delivers the money to him the next night at midnight. And Norma agrees. But, and I was reading that right here, so I didn't forget it. But, Norma pretty much wants to talk to Romero about it, and Romero kind of doesn't really give her an answer. He kind of just says, I'll take care of it. So Norma doesn't really think he's going to take care of it, so she asks Dylan to buy her a gun. And I really like the scene with her and Dylan. It was actually quite a sweet scene, because for the first time in the season, Dylan called Norma Mom. I have been waiting for that so long, you have no idea how much, because honestly, I've been fine with him calling her Norma. I've been fine with him, you know, being like rebellious against her, but it's time for us to see him be sweet, because really, she's not a bad person. We've seen that this whole season. Norma Bates is not a bad person. And we really found out more about Norma in the episode, so I will get to that, but first, I want to talk about what happens. So she buys the gun, and she doesn't tell Norman about it. But, of course, then, when it's time for her to finally face Abernathy, Romero actually protects her. And this was an amazing scene. Honestly, Romero was the badass of the night. Honestly, well, it's a tie between Romero and two other people, but I'm not sure who really was the big badass of the night. But Romero that was badass. He killed Abernathy 4 times. He shot him 4 times, so there's no way that they can get Abernathy back. He's gone forever, hopefully. The director said how there's probably no way they can make it look like he didn't die, which I hope is the case, because Abernathy is the most annoying character on this show. He really ruined things for me, and after he came on, I just was like, get off the show now. And I'm so glad he's gone, but Romero is definitely badass of the night. So now I want to get to, of course, some of the bigger things. Of course, Norman is still with, what's her name, Miss... what's her name, Miss Watson. And, of course, I didn't like this character from the start either. I thought she was sweet and kind and everything, but I'm like, you can't be that nice. And honestly, we find out that she wasn't. I do want to get to the big scene. There's this big dance going on, and Norman decides to ask out Emma. As we can see, though, he is not over Bradley, because as we know, Dylan and Bradley, Bradley likes Dylan and Dylan likes Bradley. Honestly, the two of them together, I like it. Do not want to see Norma and Bradley together. It seems like Bradley and Dylan are she's much more attached to Dylan than she'll ever be with Norman. Like with Norman, she just has sex with him, she runs away, she's like kind of, I don't want to say slut because that's really the wrong term, but really she doesn't really care about him. All she did was have sex with him and not tell anybody about it, so she had a boyfriend while this was happening. I'd really love to see Dylan and Bradley together. I was very upset that her and her boyfriend did not break up, because her boyfriend's a douche. So before Norman leaves, though, he can't find any black socks, and Dylan gives him black socks. And while this is happening, Norma kind of talks to Norman. Before in the episode, Norma was at a psychiatrist, and he was asking her about her childhood, and she didn't want to say anything. She talked about how her father was a very sweet man, and her mother was a very sweet woman, but she didn't want to say anything else about her childhood. And so she finally tells Norman, and we find out that her brother used to have sex with her. He forced her, so he pretty much raped her. And she talked about how when he raped her, and this is, by the way, the best performance by Vera Farmiga we've ever seen in this show. She was just really, really raw emotion here. I just felt so bad for Norma after this, and really it comes to the fact that Norma's not a bad person. She's just very protective of her son and doesn't want the same thing to happen to him. You know, she was raped by her brother, and I guess her father had a very bad temper. And when she tells Norman about this, how her father had such a bad temper, she tells him how how one time she got so scared that there was an iron board and it fell and it hurt her leg. And she never told her parents about it, and now her parents are dead. And Norman is the only person she's ever told. And after this happens, we see Emma. She's all dressed up. And by the way, Emma looked hot in this episode. Honestly, Emma was hotter than Bradley. Bradley, you know, she's hot and all, but Emma was really hot in that scene. Even with her SF, she's still hot. And then we see that Emma gives a really good performance. I loved what we had here. We see them back at the dance, and when they're at the dance, Norman keeps looking at Bradley, and Emma says how she wants to leave, and she says how, just like I thought you actually enjoyed me, but I realized that you are still not over her, and she leaves. And it was really, Olivia Cooke in that scene as Emma was just amazing. So then, of course, Bradley's boyfriend, we get the stupidest scene of the night with Bradley's boyfriend. Bradley's boyfriend tries to, Bradley's boyfriend punches, he punches Norman and in the eye, and then Miss Watson shows up, and she takes Norma back to clean up his eye, but we know she has more intentions than that. And while Norman is at the house, he sees a vision of his mom saying, "What woman changes in front of you, lets you see her change in front of you at her house? You know what you have to do." We don't see what he has to do. And then we see that he comes back to the house where Norma saw him. And he ran home, and Norma saw him. And she says how everything's great. And I thought that'd be the way it ended, but no, it's not, because as we see, Norman killed Miss Watson. I was, like, speechless when I heard about this, because Norman murdered Miss Watson. He didn't just kill her, he slit her throat. So we are to assume that she changed, and then he slit her throat. So that's what we are to assume. And honestly, that's going to be amazing to see what's going to happen here, because Norman really went psycho here. I mean, really, that scene, Freddie Highmore, was amazing. And honestly, this season, it started off not very good, but then it got really good after I think The Truth. I think after The Truth, it got really good. Or the one when Bradley and Norman slept together. That one was really strong as well, because and then after that episode, everything was really great. Then Abernathy came along. It started to get a little bit, but then this episode, just everything was perfect. They wrapped up everything nicely, and we had so many great scenes, you know, with Norma, especially with learning about her past. And I felt so bad for Norma. I felt so bad for her. And I'm really glad that Dylan called his mother Mom, honestly. He finally, you know, said Mom to her. He didn't call her Norma, and he called her Mom, and I really thought that was a great scene, and I'm just very happy with this episode. And definitely, this was my favorite episode of the season. Alright, that's it for my review of Bates Motel. Let me know what your favorite episode of the season was. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think we're going to see more of Norma's past, which I heard that we are? Some people think her brother is going to show up, because we know her brother is not dead. Her brother could even be, we don't know, her brother could be someone it could be like a major character. It could be like Abernathy or something. I don't think it'd be Abernathy. I mean, Abernathy's a little too old for Norma. So if that's true, then that's just gross. The whole, either way, it's just gross. But what do you think is going to happen? Of course, the biggest cliffhanger. Do you think Norma will get caught with killing Miss Watson? As we know, Norma did not tell anybody when he killed his father. Norma does not know about this. So is Norma going to get in trouble before Norma finds out? Or is Norma going to find out and then not going to tell anybody? Or is she going to tell people? So what do you think is going to happen? I don't think she's going to tell people if she finds out, but I don't think Norma is going to find out about this. I think the police are going to find out about this first. Because Norma doesn't know about this. She thinks everything's okay, but it's not. And I just really loved it. And honestly, this has been a great show, and I've really loved it. So that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Okay, bye!